All right, so I'm just going to start off with talking about the game first. Water Dogs Cannons, Friday night. It's 8-2 after the first quarter. It's a quick 4-0 lead. There's a couple of goals, and then Go Brecht gets a 2-pointer, and all of a sudden it's 4-0, and it doesn't stop there. It's 8-2 after the first. It's 12-4 after the half, and it's 16-5 after the third quarter. So even after the first quarter, you're kind of thinking it's done, but maybe you go on like a four-goal run, and all of a sudden it's 8-6, and maybe it's a game. That's not how. That's not what happened. 12-4 at half, and by that point, the game is pretty much over. So I knew a couple of guys were going to have really good games. One of them is Ryan Brown. Ryan Brown has 15 goals on the season. He has 15 points on the season. So if he's scoring points, he's scoring goals. There is no getting assists with Ryan Brown. He's got 4 goals in this game. He had 0 points in week 1 against the Cannons. I don't remember if he didn't play, but it's definitely a big step up from that first week. Another guy like that is McCardle. He had 3 goals, 4 points, absolutely obliterated this Cannons defense. Ethan Walker was a surprising one for me. He had 4 points in this game, 3 of them being assists. Only had 2 shots, scored on one of them. He, in the last 2 games he's played, had 2 points and 4 points. So I wouldn't say that he's someone to pick up on your team just yet, but he's definitely an individual to keep an eye on. Zach Currier, Ben Reeves, Connor Kelly, all with 3 points. Courier also with the 6 ground balls. He's electric on both sides of the field. He is the best two-way midfielder in the game. So he's nothing but superb this season. Defensively, and then there's a whole bunch of dudes with 2 points, a couple guys with 1 point. So Mikey Schlosser hasn't been doing great since he had that one breakout weekend, but he had a pretty sick goal yesterday, let me tell you. It might not be one for fantasy purposes, but that's definitely one for the highlight reel. Liam Burden's defensively was the standout. 4 calls, turnovers, 3 ground balls. Rylan Reese with some pretty good stats. Obviously Zach Currier, 1 calls turnover with those 6 ground balls. So pretty decent numbers, but Liam Burns is definitely the one. Burns is the one that stands out the most. At the face-off dot, I knew that this was going to be a good game for Jake Withers. I didn't really believe in Reisman being traded over. I'll give him it's his first week. I'm not going to call him dead just yet, but I knew that it's a tough season right now for the Chaos at the face-off dot. I mean, Chaos too, but the Cannons at the face-off dot. So Jake Withers goes 77%, wins 20 of 26 with 12 ground balls, and he even has 2 points and a goal. So great game by him. I didn't expect him to do 77%, but I knew that he was going to be probably about 60 plus, but almost hit an 80 there. Dylan Ward in net, 63%, had 6 goals, 6 scores against. I hate that they call it scores against. 6 scores against. Matt DeLuca gave up one. Can't really remember why he went in, but Dylan Ward had the 10 saves, 63%. Pretty good game by him. He's been pretty hot recently, let me tell you. I believe that he's been. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Galloway. This was really the first good game by Dylan Ward yet. He's only had one other game where he was over 10 saves, and that was against the Archers, where he also gave up 17. He really hasn't. He's been sitting about that high 40s in save percentage with a couple of dips, and this is a little bit of an uptrend. I wouldn't really bank in on him being super great, but so it's something to at least take a look at if you're looking for depth. I wouldn't jump on him just yet, though. And then on the other side of the ball, with the Chaos, we have really only Ryan Drenner that showed up this game. Shane Jackson had a pretty decent game as well as Brendan Sunday. Those two had 2 points, Drenner with 4 and a Hattie. So, decent day by Ryan Drenner, but Paul Rabel, 0 points on 6 shots. Lyle Thompson, 0 points on 2 shots. We have a whole bunch of zeros on this side. Jamie Trimboli had 1 goal. I believe this was his first game. He had 3 shots. Just overall, there's not much to speak about offensively, and there's also not too much to speak about defensively, even though they were on defense for a while. I guess that makes sense when you give up whatever it is, fucking 19 goals. So defensively, we've got Merrill with 4 ground balls. Nothing crazy, but still not the worst day. Nick Morocco actually had the best day defensively, their goaltender. 1 calls turnover and 5 ground balls. He went 50% in cage, had 14 scores against, 1 2-pointer, and 13 saves. So not the worst I've ever seen. And then Jacob Stover had 5 scores against. So no one really had the answer for this. Jacob Stover also had 0 saves, so that's a tough look right there. And then again, Reisman 8 for 28 on faceoffs, 29%. That's definitely not what you're looking for either. But the only real good thing that came out of this, I would say, personnel wise, was Drenner, Goodrich, and Merrill. Goodrich with 2 caused turnovers, 2 ground balls, and that's really it. Those are really the only 3 that stood out in this game. This was a tough one. This was a tough one to watch, unless you are a big Water Dogs fan, let me tell you. So good news if you're a Redwoods fan, tough news if you're a Whipsnakes fan. But I'll preface this by saying that this was not Whipsnakes at their best. No Earnhardt. They had Young at LSM today, which is big difference, different position, different needs, especially when it comes down to face-offs and how good Earnhardt is, again, ground balls. And I don't believe that Matt Rambo was in for today. He seems like he's been playing hurt this whole season, just by his productivity and time missed. But good day for Brad Smith. Brad Smith with 3 points. And then Mathis, Carlson, and Chaney all with 2 goals. Besides that, though, there really wasn't that much going on today. Zed Williams, 8 shots, no goals, 1 assist. John Haas, 10 shots, 1 goal, 1 assist, no goals. And it was defensively nothing crazy as well. Joe Nardella was really the only guy getting ground balls with 6 of them. The next highest was their goalkeeper, Bernlar, with 3. And that's it, man. We'll get into Nardella in a little bit. Bernlar, 6 saves, 8 scores against. So I'm 43% on the day, so nothing too crazy on his part. But then the Redwoods, night and day here. So it was really the Matt Cav and Jules Henningberg show. Cav, Henningberg, Pinnell all had 4 points. Cav with 4 goals, Henningberg with a hattie, Pinnell with 1 goal, 3 assists. Henningberg 3 for 3 on shots, so he was shooting 100%. Everything was going in for him. Matt Cav was making plays all by himself. Pretty unreal. Works by him. He was going against Squires, so putting the rookie to the test, and he was really putting it to the cage. Henningberg had a short stick on him, was really putting it to the cage. Pinnell had a sneaky game, as well as Miles Jones with a hat trick. Didn't really hear much about him while watching the game, but he ended up doing pretty well. Defensively, Sexton, 1 caused turnover, 3 ground balls. That was more or less the best out of him, or out of the defense. Eppel with 4 ground balls. And just Glaze with 2 calls turnovers, 1 ground ball. He has just the most electric tune-ins when you go into and listen to him play. It's something else. It's a work of art. It's honestly just a work of art. And then getting into the face-off dot, this was, to me, the most entertaining part of this game. Not only the matchup of, it being the crazy, PLL original championship matchup, the semifinal matchup, and now just a great rivalry to this day. But it's at the Face-Off X. I believe the career or longevity franchise-wise, I think the Redwoods are 33% at the face-off against Nardella. Today they were 54%. T.D. Erlin was 54%. Nardella was 48%. So, again, pretty 50-50. But out of the rookie to be doing what he's doing against Trevor Baptiste, Joe Nardella, I mean, he's putting the best to the test, and he's holding up on his own, if not doing even better. But more or less, the 50-50, which is all you can ask for out of him. It's really, it is all you can ask for, especially out of a rookie, especially with this team. They played so well when they had Greg Garellian, and now it's nice to have T.D. Erlin. Enough of that. We'll get back to fantasy. Tim Troutner, 17 saves, 71%. Shot-wise, more or less, this was very similar in this game. Shots were 48-44. On net, or on goal, was 24-22. Turnovers, 14 apiece. Calls turnovers, 5-4. Redwoods Whipsnakes. Ground balls, almost the same at 34-31. Face-offs, one team won 13, one team won 11. It was just the saves that came in came into effect with 17 to 9 saves on the day. One penalty in this game, but this was just it was utterly electric. This game, great to see, but it really could have gone either way. It's definitely a different matchup when it comes to the Redwoods and the Whipsnakes when they're both healthy. The other game on Saturday night was pretty fun to watch. It was interesting because there was no Concannon, so they had JD Colarusso in net. But we'll start with offense because the guy who's just tearing up the PLL, Jeff Teat, 8 points, 4 goals, just absolutely unreal. Law had another hat trick on the season. That's 3 for him. First one in about 2 or 3 weeks, though. We have John Crawley with 3 points. Caraway and Bucaro both had 2 points. And then defensively, Craig Chick and Danny Logan both had good games. Craig Chick especially, 3 calls turnovers, 5 ground balls. And at the fucking face-off dot, Trevor Baptiste, 70% had 1 goal and 11 ground balls. He was doing it all himself. JD Colarusso coming in for Concannon, 53 saves. 53 saves. 53%, 10 saves. Pretty decent night by him. We'll see what happens with him. Honestly, he played well enough where I think that he might get a starting gig sometime down the road. It's super competitive in the PLL, but the Chaos, they really didn't have all that much time down there. But 10 saves is still pretty decent though. Josh Byrne on the other side on the Chaos, 4 goals, 5 points. Good night by him. Josh Byrne has just been super consistent, man. He's had 5 in the last 2, 3 before that, and then 3, 2, and 1. So Josh Byrne has just been an animal. Dane Smith as well had 3 points. He's been doing pretty well. He sits at about like that 2.5 points per game average right now. And then CJ Costabile came down with a 2-pointer. Really good transition. Long stick to long stick to long stick to the back of the net. Great play there. It was really a great highlight for the Chrome, who don't really have too much to be proud of in this game when it comes down to the final score, though. Frazier and Ray and O'Keefe all had 1 goal. O'Keefe with a really fucking beautiful goal, too. Defensively, Surdick was really the only guy getting caused turnovers, 2 with 2 ground balls. Resch and Ray both with 1 caused turnover, 3 ground balls. And then Newman and Glacini both had 4 ground balls. But the problem is that Max Adler has just not been the solution. 31%, they're sticking with him. He's the guy, but he's just not winning anything. And then Blaze Reardon, a slightly low 56%, but he had 18 saves. He's been pretty much hovering around that like low to mid 60s. This was his lowest since week 2, but again, 18 saves. He had the same last week, had more than that the week before. I mean, Max, his saves are just crazy, man. 21, 19, 18, 18, 14, 14. Just, that guy's a fucking workload. And it was a good game, though. Competitive. 16-10 was closer than it sounded, though. Chaos came out pretty quick, and then Atlas responded, and more than responded. They didn't let the Chaos score for only God knows how long. Pretty goddamn long time, though. But good game there. I'm excited to see Jeff T continue to do what he does. It would be nice to see a little bit more consistency out of Law, and it's just crazy with Jeff T. He's getting fucking goals and assists, and he's not a Ryan Brown where all he's getting is assists or all he's getting is goals, and he's not like he's not maybe like a Rob Pennell where a lot of his stuff is coming off as assists. He's just super balanced right now, so he's been a treat to watch. He's definitely a guy you got to look out for. He has a lot of chemistry on this team, playing with them from Team Canada. So great lacrosse coming out of the Atlas right now. All right, this game, honestly, I keep trying to say that it's interesting, but it really wasn't too interesting. It's interesting on one side of the ball, not too interesting on the other. With Chrome, the only interesting thing that happened here are 2 things. Wolf is now out for the season. That's a big blow to them, but he really hasn't been playing since the first game anyway. And then Jordan McIntosh with 4 goals off 4 shots. He really hasn't been too substantial in this offense recently. He's had a couple goals here and there, but he really hasn't had anything since week 1, where he had 4 goals versus the Redwoods. And then the rest of this offense was absolutely MIA. Connor Farrell with 1 goal and Tom fucking 84 with another goal. That's not not the greatest, or with another point. So not the greatest looks here. And then in terms of defense, I mean, you had some pretty decent guys. Joel White continues to dominate as an LSM. And then after that, I mean, you got guys with a couple of stats, but again, it's a big drop off from number 1 to number 2. In net though, John Galloway has another pretty decent game at 57%, 16 saves. Good to see him kind of consistent for this Chrome team against a team like the Water Dogs. The Water Dogs have been on fucking fire recently. So he goes with a 78 to 70, misses the last game, and then 57%. So he's going above 50%, which is really what you need. Much better than the first 2 starts that he had. And then on the other side of the ball, that's pretty much it for the Chrome. And then on the other side of the ball, it's a completely different story. The Water Dogs, Mikey Schlosser comes out with a hat trick in this game. He hasn't really been doing all too much, but he had 6 shots on this game. So interesting to see the midfielders kind of working a little bit more, as well as Connor Kelly and Kieran McArdle also with 2 goals each. So the Chrome were really just unable to stop those midfielders from scoring. Ryan Brown, huge news, has his first assist on the season, has 2 points, 1 and 1. Haven't seen that yet this season. So he's got 17 points, 16 goals, 1 assist. And then we have Courier and Walker with 2 points each. Courier, obviously, an absolute savage with 6 ground balls. And then also defensively, just a stud fucking defense here. Eli Gobrecht, 5 calls turnovers, 5 ground balls. Liam Burns, 4 calls turnovers, 5 ground balls. Jake Withers, interesting to see here. Not just the 5 ground balls, but also 3 calls turnovers and 1 point. Fucking an electric day by Jake Withers, as well as going 59% from the face-off dot. Really doesn't get too much better than that. 13 of 22. Jake Withers, I mean, they've gone pretty back and forth. Last time that these two met, in Farrell and Withers, Withers only went 42%, so it was lopsided the other way, and now came back the other way. So it'll be interesting to see down the stretch, especially if these teams make it into playoffs. They don't have any more matches for the rest of the season. If these two end up seeing each other later down the road, what will happen then? And then Dylan Ward comes up with another pretty decent game. 9 saves, 60% save percentage. Good day by him. Also Reese with 5 ground balls, no calls turnovers. But you've got a bunch of dudes on this Water Dogs team who just absolutely lit up the Chrome. And then Cannons Archers. So Cannons did not start the weekend the way that they really wanted to, but they ended it the way that they wanted to. So it shows the amount of this is dangerous right here. This is a dangerous sight to see. The responsibility, the character, the leadership shown on this team, from losing 19-7 to beating the Archers, who are a bit on a downside but still a very good lacrosse club, beating them in the fashion that they did. We'll get into that a little bit later as I get down to some of these guys, but to start off, Lyle Thompson, 9 points, 5 goals, absolutely static. I think he registered maybe like 2 shots in the first game this weekend. Comes up with 9 points. Holy shit. Next we have Rafus, 5 points, 2 goals. Steven Jackson, 3 goals. Ryan Drenner, 2 goals. Paul Rabel, 1 goal. So good on that part. Paul Rabel with a bit of a slow weekend. But so fantasy-wise, you don't like to see it. But in terms of being a lacrosse leader, it's pretty good to see. Garlent, Bell, both had good defensive days, both decent amount of calls turnovers, both decent amount of ground balls. Interesting to see here, Reisman had a pretty shitty game 1, has a pretty stellar game 2, 57%, 11 ground balls. It seems like if he's going to do it at the X, it's not really going to be the LSM or the short stick midfielder. It's going to have to be him who gets the ball off those 11 ground balls. And then Morocco with 15 saves, 2 of those being with less than 20 seconds left in prime time, stick matching up close. Matt, just absolute robbery for the fucking game winner. He saves 56%, and then at that point it's more like when, not how. And then we have on the other side, Grant Ament, 4 points, 1 goal. Connor Fields had a hat trick. Tom Schreiber with 3 points, one of them being a goal. Ambler and Manny, 2 goals each. Manny was the one who was stick matched pretty heavily at the end. Could have had a hat trick to tie it up, but Nick Morocco, man, he is stellar to watch. I really, really, really like watching him. Um, he and just week by week, he's just been super consistent. McMahon, 3 calls turnovers, 1 ground ball. Hossack, 1 calls turnover, 4 ground balls. Gaffney, 4 ground balls. And then Gittleman, 13 saves, 50%, 7 ground balls. Defensively, nothing super crazy. McMahon definitely with the best game above and beyond. Interesting to see here. Brody Merrill, nothing too crazy on the Cannon side, and then Scott Ratliff, 3 ground balls, so not too bad, but no points. Would really like to see this team get back into what they're doing. I don't know what the total issue is. They're getting 50% save percentage. They're only shooting 27% though. Not like it's horrible, but I'm not sure exactly what they're missing team wise, but they kind of have to figure it out. Good week overall for fantasy though. I'm super excited for the next week. As always, fucking yeah, fuck.